Hi, and welcome to this episode of John's Model Kit Review. In today's fun classic model kit review, we'll be looking at the Fujimi 148 scale Messerschmitt Bf110 C and D. This is Fujimi kit number Q2. In this in-process review video, we will go through the instructions and we'll talk about any problem areas to watch out for with those. We'll be looking at the surface detailing and the fit of the major parts of the kit. We'll also look at the detail on the smaller parts of this kit, and those include the parts for the interior, for the landing gear, and for the antennas. I'll also talk about any aftermarket parts I plan to use during this build. We'll take a look at the clear parts, and we'll talk about the clarity and fit of those, as well as any optional clear parts that are included. We'll take a look at the marking options. We'll also take a look at the decals themselves and talk about the quality of those. I'll give a brief history of the Messerschmitt Bf110, and we'll also talk about how this kit compares to the much newer Eduard Bf110 C and D. This kit was originally released in 1975, so it is a very old kit, but given the age of the kit, you might be surprised to find that there are some areas in which this kit has an advantage over the later Eduard kit. And we'll talk about those as we go through the review. Looking at the history of the Bf110, it was originally designed as a Zerstörer or destroyer heavy fighter. The development of the Bf110 started in the early 1930s. And one proponent of the Bf110 was Hermann Göring, who believed that its heavy armament, speed, and range would make it the premier offensive fighter for the Luftwaffe. Early variants were armed with a pair of MG FF 20mm cannon, 4 7.92mm MG-17 machine guns, and one 7.92mm MG-15 machine gun for defense used by the rear gunner. In addition to its cannon and machine gun armament, the Bf110 could carry lots of stores underneath the fuselage and underneath the wings, and those included rockets and bombs, long-range fuel tanks, etc. The Bf110 served throughout World War II. It was in operation from the first day of the conflict until the last, and it served as a heavy fighter, a fighter bomber, a night fighter, and a maritime patrol aircraft. In addition to its use by the Luftwaffe, other operators of the type included the Hungarian Air Force, the Italian Air Force, and the Romanian Air Force. The early model Bf110s were powered by the Daimler-Benz DB601B1 engines. With the DB601, the Bf110's maximum speed was 336 miles an hour, with a range of around 680 miles. Going through the kit instructions, step 1 has us assembling the cockpit interior. Here we can see some of the detailing on the smaller parts that are included with the interior, and I would say this interior is on the basic side. There's also some interior sidewall detail molded into each fuselage half, and that will look good once that's detail painted. There are 2 seated figures included with this kit, but in looking at them, both of them have a large sink mark just under their hand. Additionally, I don't think the molding is that great on these. If we look specifically at the pilot's position, you can see that there's no engraved detail on the instrument panel or on the starboard side console. The detail here is provided by the kit-supplied decals. On this build, I plan to use this resin replacement seat, and I think that will really dress up what can be seen through the cockpit canopy. In step 2 of construction, we are building the engine nacelles and the props and the spinners for those, and we're attaching the exhausts as well. In simply setting the nacelle parts together, it looks like I'll be able to get a filler-free assembly. There will be a little bit of dry fitting needed and a little bit of minor cleanup, but I think these should turn out just great. Even the oil cooler intake under the engine fits in very nicely. The prop assemblies themselves look to be nicely detailed, and I think these will turn out great under a coat of paint. In step 3, we're drilling holes on the underside of the fuselage and then the underside of the wings for the ordinance that will be added later. And here you want to make sure to study this and know what holes you need to drill for the version that you plan to build. In step 4, we're installing the cockpit interior into the fuselage halves, and then we're closing those around the interior, and we're adding the nose to the aircraft and the rear gunner's machine gun. Looking at the detail parts for the machine gun, these are a little bit on the basic side, but I think these will look good once they're detail painted. Looking at the fit of the nose cone to the fuselage, it looks very good underneath and on the sides. There is a small step between the nose and the fuselage halves on the starboard fuselage side. So that's going to need to be filed down just a bit. But again, I think I'm going to be able to get a filler-free seam here. The fuselage seam is also very tidy, and you should be able to get a filler-free seam on the top of the fuselage and on the underside of the fuselage as well. In step 5, we are building the wing assemblies. We're also building the tail assembly, and then we're attaching the wing assemblies and the tail assembly to the fuselage. Dry fitting these parts together, the fit here looks excellent. Again, I think I'm going to be able to get a filler-free seam where the wing joins the fuselage. It looks very nice, both top and bottom. The wings themselves should build up very nicely. I don't anticipate using any filler here. And I think the tailplane should look really nice as well, and I don't anticipate using any filler on these parts. In step 6, we're building and adding the landing gear to the aircraft. Step 6 also has you attaching all of the antenna and the boarding ladder and some other small bits. I'll probably leave most of these off until after the kit is final painted and decaled and weathered. We're also adding the engine nacelles in step 6. In this photo, you can see the engine nacelles. They're just set in place in front of the wings, and it looks like we're going to be able to get a great join here. I really don't see any major fit issues with this kit on the exterior of it, and I think this should turn out very nicely. This is one area, the engine nacelle specifically, that the Eduard kit is a very difficult build. This Fujimi is probably going to be the easier route in terms of construction. The main landing gear themselves are a little bit on the basic side, but these should look good once they're detail painted. The wheels themselves should also look good once these are detail painted. I like the fact that there's a nice demarcation line between the tire and the wheel itself. That really aids with painting. And just in case I feel like it, I do have a set of the Squadron 2 Details ME110 resin wheels. These are weighted tires, and these will just improve the look on the finished kit. Moving on from step 6, we have step 7. And this is a little bit confusing in the instructions because step 7 is shown in 3 different locations. All step 7 really deals with is the underwing ordinance of the kit, or the under fuselage ordinance, and the tail cone. And this is another step where you need to know which variant you're building ahead of time, and you also need to know what ordinance goes with that variant. Looking at the ordinance itself, this looks to be very cleanly molded. There are multiple sizes of fuel tanks and different sizes of bombs included. In this picture, you can see the 2 different sizes of bombs that come in the kit. And again, just do your research and know which ones go on the aircraft you're modeling. In step 8, we're adding the clear parts. This kit has the option of building the canopy all closed up, and then it also has the option of posing the pilot's canopy in the open position. Looking at the clear parts themselves, these look to be of excellent quality. The clarity on them is very nice. I don't see any molding glitches. And I honestly anticipate the fit on these being up to the excellent fit on the rest of the kit. Looking at the color and marking guide, there are 3 separate marking options that are included in this boxing. The kit includes this nice color insert to go with the different decal marking options. The instructions themselves also covers the 3 different marking options. Looking at the actual decals, unfortunately, these have yellowed over time, and so a lot of them are not really usable. That being the case, my plan for this build is to actually build a Desert Scheme Bf110, similar to what's shown in this photograph. Since I'm already building the Airfix Tomahawk 2 in Desert Scheme colors, I think these kits will look very nice on the shelf side by side. You can click the link above to see my review of the Airfix Tomahawk Mark II. Looking at the surface detailing on the exterior of the kit, the panel lines are very finely engraved. I also like the fabric surface detail on the ailerons. The detailing on the exterior of the kit is very consistent overall, and I only found 1 or 2 panel lines that kind of faded out a little bit, and so I'll need to rescribe those. As I said earlier, the fit on the major parts of this kit is excellent. I think this will build up very easily. This kit is not parts heavy, and I think the construction phase of this build will be much simpler, much easier, and much faster than the construction phase on the Eduard Bf110. If you're a more serious modeler, I think you could justify buying an interior detail set for this kit. That would really dress it up nicely. Where this kit falls a little bit short of the Eduard kit is in the simplicity of the surface detail. The Eduard kit has a lot more engraved rivet detail and engraved detailing in general on the exterior. The Eduard kit has a much more accurate interior on it. The Eduard Profipack kit also features color photo etch details, very high quality decals, excellent instructions, and a higher level of detail on the smaller parts. The only major accuracy issue that I'm aware of on this kit is that the rear fuselage is a little bit on the thin side, and it should be a little bit thicker in this scale. I have previously built the monogram Bf110G, and I plan to review that kit in an upcoming video. I can recommend this model kit to any modeler who's looking to build a closed-up, early model Bf110, and they're not wanting to bother with the hassle of building the Eduard kit. Well, I'd love to know what you guys think. If any of you out there have built the Fujimi early model Bf110, please let me know in the comment section below. As always, I hope you found this video entertaining and informative, and until next time, model on.